So if you are wondering how you can ease the transition for your child between eventually living with you to eventually living on their own successfully, tune in to these 5 tips. Welcome to Epic Mom Life. I am your host, Kara Peterson. This show is sponsored by The Possum's Tale, a unique book adventure for your 6 to 12-year-old child. Let's jump into today's show. We have so many jobs as a parent, and one of those is that when the little kiddo grows up and leaves our home, they are able to live their life independently. How are we going to teach them how to do that? Today we're going to talk about 5 ways to help your child become independent. And what I really like about today's topic is I looked at all of these 5 topics that I thought about, and then I thought about the different ages. So if you're starting with a 3-year-old, we have things that 3-year-old can do all the way on up into their late teens. So if you are wondering how you can ease the transition for your child between eventually living with you to eventually living on their own successfully, tune in to these 5 tips. Number 1. Teach them how to cook. That sounds really basic, but it's really important. The independent self-care skills for this one is sustenance, planning, and budgeting. They can help plan the menu, create a grocery list, learn how to choose groceries or choose the menu based on the weekly sales. So if you get the weekly ads like in the newspaper or digitally, you can teach your child how to then plan a menu based on what's on sale. Prep food, chop, marinate, measure ingredients, rinse foods, all of those kind of things. Assist in the cooking of food, for example, stirring, those kind of things. Actual cooking of the meal. Cleaning up after the meal is done. Learning how to clean counters, like preventing the spreading of germs. And the importance of storing food. Number 2, teach them how to wash their clothes. The independent life skill learned here is respect for their own belongings. Go through their clothes and check their pockets. I can't tell you how many times I wish my boys had checked their pockets a little bit more carefully. Turn all of their clothes right side out. Learn how to sort their clothes. Pre-treat stains. Do an actual load of laundry, which means get the load, which is already separated, select the temperature, the size of load, how to work the machine, how much soap to add if you add anything else, that kind of thing. Use the dryer. How do you determine the heat and the time? And finish all of that work by folding and putting the clothes away. While your children are growing their independence, you also want to help them with their strategy and learning strategy skills. We were a huge game-playing family. We loved games. So we have a lot of games that we can recommend. And we started games really young, and we had a 5-year spread, so we had to learn games that would apply to a lot of different ages. I got my list of games together, and I have them recommended to you on this fabulous list of over 20 games. And what I did was I put why we love them, what age I recommend them for, but the things that I think games cure or that they really help with is because they are a family time together, they strengthen your relationships, they reduce stress, they create laughter, and they increase brain function. So we have 7 collaborative games, and the importance of collaborative games are that you as a family, if you have people who get really uptight about winning or losing or they get stressed out, you as a family have to beat the game. So you're going to all win together or all lose together, and you form a team, and that's really a fun way to play a game. And then I have 15 games that are competitive type games. So we have the descriptions, the recommendations, and the age. Download that in the description notes. Okay, number 3, Teach your children how to talk to strangers. I know this is so funny because we always say don't teach your kid, teach your kids how to not talk to strangers. However, as they age, they actually really need to learn how to do this. I talk a lot about social emotional learning. This is an SEL, social emotional learning skill, and it's independent social skills, standing up for themselves and communication. Start the child with just on the phone. Start them out with phone skills. How do they order food? How do they ask stores if they have a particular product? How do they call to schedule their own appointments? That's going to be a big deal as they get older. They're going to actually have to call a doctor. How do they find out how there's doctors in the area? Those kind of things, if they're accepting new patients. These are all things that they have to learn how to do, and they have to talk to strangers to do that. Move into interpersonal communication with people outside of your family circle. So this can be done if you're in a church group or a group of people that they feel really safe in. Learn how to join, start, maintain, and end a conversation. Those are actually 4 different parts of a conversation, and I know a lot of adults who can't do that. So figure out how to do that. And then the really, really important one is teach them how to navigate conversations that the children may want to exit from gracefully. For example, what are they going to do if they are at work and coworkers are talking but the talk is inappropriate? They don't want to alienate their coworkers. They don't want to do anything that will put themselves in an uncomfortable situation. However, they also don't want to be contributing to a talk like, what if they're all slamming the boss? They don't want to be participating in that behavior as well. So help them navigate those kind of conversations. Number 4, teach them how to manage money. I'm wondering if I got off on my numbers. I'm hoping I didn't get off on my numbers. Teach them how to manage money. Independent life skill, financial awareness. This one's really important. A job can teach your child a lot about responsibility, even if the job is as simple as cleaning up after the neighbor's pet regularly. There are many apps out there that teach children how to save and invest their money. I'm actually doing a blog this next month all about that, and that will be up here on YouTube and on my podcast as well. Okay, I just found out something really crazy about credit unions that I wish I had known when my children were younger. If your child has a job where they get an actual paycheck, where they're taking out the taxes and all those kind of things, so it doesn't have to be a full-time job, but if they have a job where they're getting a paycheck, you can check in with your credit union and they can start establishing positive credit right now while your child is still at home. That is super exciting. So check into that. Also, talk to your child about credit scores and how credit scores affect insurance. I had no idea until I was probably 32 that my credit score affected my insurance, loans, all of these kind of things. And tell your own story. Even if your own story isn't a great story, if your children see how you have battled or how you have from the very get-go fought really hard to keep your credit really good, tell them why you've done that. That's really important. Also start putting a value to what you purchase for them. So even if you're purchasing their shoes, and say you purchase $80 shoes, and say the neighbor gives them $10 an hour to pick up their dog's poop. Ask them, are those shoes worth shoveling poop for 8 hours? Now you're still going to buy their shoes possibly, but now all of a sudden they're going, wow, I have to shovel crap for 8 hours for these pair of shoes. That puts a lot of perspective and value around that dollar. And that is really important. Oh, good, I didn't get off on my numbers. That was number 4. I feel so much better now. Number 5, teach them to be responsible for their time. The independent life skill, when you actually teach them to be responsible for their time, you're actually teaching them decision making and I can never say this word, I can spell it, but how to make priorities, because they're going to end up finding that they don't have time to do everything they want. So they have to prioritize what they want to do or what they can do in their life. So this is a really important life skill. Decide what works best. For me, In this huge digital age, I have tried digital calendars and I have tried paper calendars, and I love to death my paper calendar. So figure out if it's a paper or a digital schedule that works best for them, and you would not figure this out for them because they're going to have to live with this schedule. You would talk with them and everything. Then do not make the classic mistake of assuming they know how to do this. There is going to be a teaching time. You're going to teach them how to enter into their phone that they have an appointment, or into their calendar. You're going to teach them to carry that calendar with them. And when they want to meet with a friend for Frisbee golf on Saturday at 11, to look in their calendar before they make that connection and say, oh my heck, at 11 as a family, we're going to a neighbor's for lunch. I can't do that. They need to be learning how to do that. So that's a big thing. You can also have a way to check off each task that they do. Let's face it, a lot of us are list makers because we love the check off thing. It makes us feel like we accomplished something. True confessions, I used to be so enthralled with the check off that I used to put things like go get the mail, take a shower, eat breakfast. These are things that I'm going to do anyway, right? But I just loved the idea of, look, I did this and I did this and I did this. I could have done absolutely nothing that day, but normal taking care of yourself tasks. And I had like a list of 10 things I did that day. I looked super busy. But that feeling of accomplishment does mean a lot. So the goal is to teach your kiddos to become responsible for their time, but you're going to show them without you having to tell them what they have to do, and they do not have time to commit to certain things. See, so this is going to be a great lesson that you don't even have to do. Movie quote for this week is, you control your destiny. You don't need magic to do it. And there are no magical shortcuts to solving your problems. By Merida in Brave. If you are hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode. And for that, I want to send you a huge thank you. Please leave me a comment or review and share with other moms you know. Get in touch in the comments or on Kara's social media networks. See you next week for a new episode.